talk about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 776, Mean Girls 2.
I think there is a Mean Girls.
I think
2.
there is like a direct-to-video
I think
Mean
there
Girls
is. Yeah,
2.
yeah.
So,
Which couldn't have been good. There's no way.
I mean, it seems unlikely.
Very much so.
Yeah. But,
I feel like it's a self-contained story.
but Tina Fey had a beach house she wanted to own. And so she was like, Mean Girls 2? Sure.
Done.
What else are we going to do with it?
Oh, I got an idea.
And then 10 minutes later, somebody from Broadway knocked on the door, and she's like, son of a bitch.
I know what we're doing with it.
So I guess let's go around the table, and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Crystal.
And this is Tom. Kevin is out this week, so he's been replaced.
That's right.
Well, I don't
By-
know about replaced.
by-
I didn't agree to that.
Replaced by my wife, Crystal O'Keefe.
Guess what? You're now the new Kevin.
Yes. You're the one with the popular podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
I was like, I'm just here to press the button.
I was like, can you come start the equipment for us so we can play?
It'd be super cool. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. So I guess before we dig in, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. Super helpful, greatly appreciated. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. I have to really slow down right now
Because I'm here.
to make sure
It's messing you up.
I say the name of the right podcast.
Your podcasts are coming
Yeah.
together.
It's like when we first started dating, you would have to slow down to say the name of the right guy. You'd be like,
That is hashtag facts.
which one am I out with tonight?
Wait a second. That's why I had nicknames for all of them, and that's why they
Yeah.
had names in the phones. I'd be like, oh yeah, that one. Okay.
Oh yeah, MST3 gay. MST3 gay. MST3
Might
guy.
have been. Might have been. I get accused of that. I get questioned frequently.
Do you really?
My
Oh,
dad asked me that once.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
He was like, "Are you?" I like it's okay, but like, are you? Gay?
It's just because you don't like tools.
And I,
You don't like to fix
I was like,
things. That's
no.
why.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, well, I mean, you like theater.
okay.
You,
and he doesn't like sports.
you don't like sports.
That's fair.
You're bad at fixing things.
I mean, I get on the surface
he's
why
like,
somebody would glance
you
at
don't-
Yeah, I
that.
could.
He's like, this was the one that always kind of you read.
Sorry, what?
I was like, I read?
Oh, that correlates, but
That
all right.
that goes hand in hand? Or penis in hand? Like
Well, it depends on what you're reading.
yeah, but I'm like, just reading like Stephen King and stuff, man.
I'm just reading normal
He's like,
stuff.
I never really see you with girls. And I'm like, well, that's because I'm really bad at it. I'm really bad at sports and tools. Same thing with girls.
Same thing.
Same thing. So, but so anyway, I'm trying to get the name of the show right.
Yeah, sorry.
The group is called the League of Show Sharers because we're hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week, and it's weird because last week's episode was Night Swim,
Yes.
which, in case you didn't listen, was dog.
Uh-huh.
And so we have I feel like multiple new League of Show Sharers.
Oh,
members this
interesting.
week. And so that happens on really big movies, like
Sure.
a Barbie
Aquaman.
or yeah, well maybe not. Well,
That's true.
Maybe
That's-
Aquaman 1.
Yes, fair.
But you don't normally see Night Swim.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, but yeah, so here we go.
All right.
Brent Smith, Julianne Jordan, Katie Brackett, Tom Dowdy, librarian.
Katie Brackett is
Yeah.
is a weird one.
Yeah, I think her finger slipped.
Yeah, right.
I lost where I was at. Oh, librarian Cynthia, Matt Gonzalez, Lane Levanway, Chris Magic Man, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Jason McLean, Kevin the Critic, Dissect That Film, Jennifer Levick, Taylor Ward, Dan Scott, Ryan Terry, Paul Bolger, Rich Foster, Justin Esquivel, Josh Rosen, Heather Sachs, Binge Movie, Cinema Recall, Spoiler Piece Theater, James Install, Kryptonian Orphan.
That guy followed me on Twitter.
Me too. And he said that I was right about 38 being the
No, you're right. You're totally right.
And
Yeah.
that was why he picked it.
Oh, okay.
I think he didn't say it, but it was implied
That I was an idiot?
that he was disappointed
Yeah,
in you as a human being.
That's fair.
So, Aaron L. White, The Real Pete, Geek to Me Radio, Late and Confused, Dissect That Film, In Session Film, Ronnie Castle, Matt Naglia, Mike and Oscar, Colby Mack, and Deo
Whoops.
Expert, which I think might be spam.
Oh, we'll take
You'll
it.
take it?
But
Yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
it just in case. 'cause
Right,
I
right,
would
right.
hate for Deo Expert to be real.
He's like, you son of a bitch.
And then he's like, you didn't read my thing. But now he's going to be like, why do you think I'm spam?
because you got a weird name, brother.
Yeah. So anyway, there's all that. Also, don't forget we have a Patreon where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. And then also don't forget you can watch these on YouTube over at youtube.com/@RealSpoiler.
There you go.
You have to do the at.
You have to do the ampersand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, ampersand is the and sign.
You have to do the
Oh,
at
wait. What's
sign.
the at symbol?
I think it's called the
just
at.
Is
called
that what
at.
it doesn't have a name for it?
At.
Oh, all right. At. I guess that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. At.
That's why people say, don't at me.
Don't at me. Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
But yeah, for the clip out, we got in early enough to have youtube.com/theclipout, and then they switched everything to it has to have that at sign, which I have no idea why.
I don't know.
It's really dumb.
That's really dumb.
But anyway, sometimes I think YouTube succeeds in spite of itself. not
They've
because
gotten
of itself.
Yes, they've gotten to the point. Who's gonna beat them now?
Yeah.
You know?
So
It's too late.
Yeah.
it's too late.
Blockbuster might do a comeback.
Yeah. I'll go back to work for him.
So anyway, there's all that. Let's dig in.
This is interesting. Like everybody knows how I feel about musicals.
As someone who does not like musicals, did you like it?
Yeah, but not because of the musical part.
Yeah.
There was one song that I thought was really that I liked.
Every time they would sing, you would just leave and
I was
pee.
like, I gotta go.
I'm gonna
this
go
is
pee.
dumb. But the song at the Halloween party,
Revenge Party?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good song.
But I also liked the way it was filmed. Like it kind of had like a horror film,
This
horror movie
had
vibe.
really surprisingly strong camera work.
It did.
Yeah.
I
As
totally
somebody
agree.
who pays zero attention to that, I agree.
Oh, good.
I did. I do. It was like it was fun. It was interesting. It
Yeah.
kept it going. And
Yeah.
I think for people who don't like musicals, it added something like an extra dimension of something to do while you listen to the music.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I thought the transitions were good, like going from like the garage door into
Yeah.
wherever they were going. I like the idea of using social media or TikTok, which is basically what they're doing on their phones,
Right.
as like filming musical numbers. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
But I also liked that they didn't do it's not a straight remake. Like it is story wise,
Yeah.
but the jokes are different,
Yeah.
and that's Tina Fey. Like that's a given.
I mean,
But
she has
she's-
sole screenwriting
yeah,
credit
she's
for this.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't remember the principal and Tina Fey being a couple.
I don't
in
think they
Mean
were.
Girls.
I
Okay.
think that was just like a little.
But that was fun to see him come back. I was like, hey, Tim Meadows. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool. The lead actress looks eerily similar to Amy Adams.
Yes, I
Yeah.
said the same
Yeah.
thing. I was
I-
like, she looks like a young Amy Adams.
And it
She
was
does.
like, even in the way she would smile, I was
Yes.
like, that's
her
weird.
nose does the same thing that Amy Adams does. It was weird.
Very weird. It's like, did they do de-aging on Amy Adams?
Like, it was the same wrinkle in her nose. I
Yes.
don't even know how to explain it.
But yeah, I didn't hate it, but I had fun at the non-musical parts. And I was like, okay, it's just an updated version of Mean Girls
with songs.
with songs.
I think that there's going to be an element of the public that's massively confused by this movie.
What do you mean?
Because there are a lot of people who don't pay attention to Broadway.
Yeah.
That have no idea that Mean Girls was turned into a Broadway musical. Mm-hmm. And if you watch any of the commercials or trailers for this version of Mean Girls, you would have absolutely no way of knowing
Oh, there's nothing in the ads?
that this thing is a musical.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, none.
That's
Okay.
true.
There is not one allusion to, like, even Wonka, while it buried the fact that it was a musical.
Sure.
Like, if you go back and watch the trailer, you're like, oh, I see. Yeah, I guess it kind of was. This, nothing. I mean,
Interesting.
not a thing. So when they like you get the Paramount logo and it goes down and it's like we're singing.
Yeah.
Like
Big time.
there have got to be people in the theater that are like, what the holy hell is happening?
That's how I felt. What was the one? What was the one that we did where I didn't know it was a musical? Into the
Into the Woods?
Where like my wife at the time and I sat. We're like we had a screener for it. We'll just watch it. And then it starts.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh
They're
fuck,
singing.
God, yeah. Emily Blunt starts singing. I was like, no, no.
It's a shame you saw that version of Into the Woods because
Yeah, that's such a great story.
the play
really?
is
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I mean,
Awful.
it's also a musical, but
Right.
It's such a good story,
it's
though.
such a great. It's one of my all-time favorite musicals.
Oh,
Into the
okay,
Woods. Yeah,
okay. That
Like,
movie's not good.
the movie's like meh. But
Yeah.
like any affection I have for the movie is because I love the source material so much that I can still.
That's fair.
You know,
That's fair. I get
but,
that. That's how I felt about Man of Steel.
Yeah, like I would, like I would think like you would appreciate Into the Woods because it's like taking fairy tales, but then it's all like Act 1 is like retelling the fairy tales,
Yeah.
right? And then everybody gets their happy ending. Because I remember seeing it when I was probably in high school when I saw it the first time.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah, and
Like 1500s or something.
yeah. Oh, when did it come out? Maybe I saw it in. No, maybe I saw it in college. But anyway.
Stop trying to make yourself younger.
Yeah. but like Act 1 ends and everybody, it's it's happily ever after.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are they gonna do in Act 2? Well, then in Act 2, it's all the consequences of their actions.
Okay.
And that they killed this giant.
Sure.
Right? Somebody's gonna be mad about that.
Yeah, that's
right? The giant's not an orphan.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got family.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like some of the things we like about smarter comic books, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I love the fact that this guy can fly, but like, what would happen if a guy really could fly? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, okay.
but with songs.
That's interesting. Didn't they? Wasn't there a show on like ABC that kind of did that?
Oh,
Yeah, Once Upon a Time. Is that what it was?
Oh, I thought he was talking about the one that we watched. It's like Chicago and
Schmicago?
Schmigadoon.
Schmigadoon.
No,
That's what I thought you were
but
talking about.
I did see another preview for that. I was like, God, they both
It's-
talked about that, and they
It's
both
so
really
good.
liked it.
Schmigadoon is great.
Is great.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
But Once Upon a Time, I think it was
I think
called
that's
Once
what
Upon a
you're
Time.
talking
about. Okay.
Yeah, and I watched that. It got stupid towards
That's
the
what I
end.
remember hearing. Is
Yeah,
like,
it
'cause
was-
they brought in Elsa and Anna.
It got
Yeah.
real bad.
'Cause the
But
idea-
at first it was great. It
Yeah,
was
the
great.
idea was that it was like all the fairy tales had a shared universe.
Yeah. Right.
And so they're interacting, but then they're in the real world. So it was kind of supposed to be like Desperate Housewives meets.
I mean, that sounds like a fun premise.
Yeah.
It actually was really good. The first couple of seasons were really good, but then they, just like any show that keeps going past its prime.
Yeah, I
they
watched
started,
Supernatural. I get it.
Yeah, they started.
But that
started,
comes
like,
back around, doesn't it? I thought
It
people,
does.
Like it gets bad and then it comes back
It's.
around.
I mean, when you go 15 seasons.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, on the CW.
Wow.
You're getting into Gunsmoke territory.
It's crazy. I mean, good for those guys.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
they're in syndication.
true.
But yeah, it was like Jennifer Goodwin and somebody else were like Snow White and the.
Yeah, the chick that played on House, which I have no idea if you ever watched that show. She was like one of the main characters, and that's why I knew her from the blonde. She was the blonde, and
not
she's
Olivia Wilde.
right,
Yeah,
the other one,
right.
And she was the other. Like she's like the main character, the protagonist, and so she's trying to kind of save everybody.
Okay.
So she's the one that like knows all of the things, and everybody else, she's the only one. Everyone lives in this town, and they don't know that they live in this. Like they can't leave. If they try to leave, they like die if they cross over the line. And so like they have to live because Cinderella, or not Cinderella, the evil step queen or whatever she was, she like made the spell,
Okay.
and so nobody can leave, and then she comes in to try to kind of right everything. So it's actually really interesting and good.
Huh.
It's just how they go with
Finished it?
I never finished it. That's how bad it was. I was like,
funny.
I don't care.
I've done that a few times. But yeah, like I feel like I don't know. When Mean Girls came out, it was kind of like this cultural touchstone. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to describe it. I think Tina Fey was still on SNL by 2004
I'm trying to remember when she left SNL.
because I mean, and she was like I mean, she was the head writer.
Yeah.
So, but she was
And host of Weekend Update. So
Yeah.
like she was very much kind of the face of SNL and the head writer.
which is weird because I thought that Amy Poehler was in Mean Girls.
Polar.
Polar. What did I say? Polar.
Yeah.
But and then I looked at the cast, and it's not her.
No.
So what movie is it where she plays the cool mom? What am I thinking of?
Bad Moms?
No, it's not that. Well, now Tina Fey and Amy Poehler teamed up for Baby Mama,
Yeah.
which is really funny.
It is
Yeah.
very funny.
I'm surprised that doesn't get talked about more because that's really funny.
What was they had two of them that were
And then they did was it
Sisters?
Sisters. It opened the same day as Star Wars.
oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I think they
Yeah.
thought they were like, we'll counter program it.
Yeah, well,
right.
Yeah.
Star Wars is a 4-quadrant hit.
Whoops.
And
Yeah.
like it's harder to do the we talked about this before. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids
Batman.
opens against Batman '89, and it makes a ton of money because people couldn't get tickets to Batman.
Correct.
And they were there with the kids, and they're like, screw it, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Which apparently is coming back.
Is it?
He's coming
Everything comes
to
back.
Disney Plus. They're coming back for Disney Plus.
Yeah, Rick Moranis is coming back.
Yeah.
out of retirement.
Yeah.
he wouldn't come out of retirement for Ghostbusters, but he'll come out of retirement for Honey, I Shrunk
I
the
mean,
Kids.
maybe it's because it's a chiller. I don't know.
But you can't really play that game these days because with digital distribution, you just flip a button and you add a theater.
Right.
And so
Can theaters do that though? Like, isn't the deal like that? The studios say our movie has to be in 75% of your theaters. Isn't that the way that kind of works? Isn't
I
there
mean,
like
I think
some
if
sort
you're
of deal?
counter programming, probably not.
I guess that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're Star Wars, yeah, and if you call up Disney and you're like, we want to put it on 4 more screens,
They'll be like, okay.
okay, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The Honey, I Shrunk the Kids would not have been as successful if Warner Brothers is like, or if the theater's like, hey, can we put Batman on 4 more screens?
If
So
they
they're like,
if
okay.
they could have flipped a switch and put Batman on 4 more screens,
Sure,
they
sure.
would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Every
Yeah.
theater in America would have done
Yeah,
it, right?
big time.
And now
So-
they can.
Now they can, so it's harder to play that game.
My parents didn't want me to see Batman because they didn't know how violent it was going to be. I had to wait till it came out on video before I could see it.
That's sad.
Little did they know that it
remember-
would like I wasn't that it was not that it's not violent at all.
We saw Sisters opening night, and so it was opening night of Force Awakens.
Oh man.
And so it's like
Everyone was like all dressed up in costume.
I like came to the theater. I was like, one for Sisters. She won't let me see Star Wars.
That's really funny. Wait, were you guys together? That like you guys
Were
were
we?
dating.
I
Force Awakens comes out.
I don't know.
You were dating though.
I
Was it-
think so.
Yeah. Okay.
When did it come out?
I don't
I
remember.
mean,
My
I was
internet's not
at your
working.
wedding. At your wedding.
We got
Yeah.
it's a wedding.
It's a
so we
waiting.
got
Yeah.
Well, it's waiting. That's what that is. But yeah,
I do that all the time.
I could have sworn that
I don't know.
I honestly don't remember either. But in 04, that
Yeah, it came
mo-
out in 2015. That's the year we got married.
Oh, okay. Dang, that seems like forever ago. Just the fact that the Force Awakens, like that feels so
It's
long
almost
ago.
10 years ago.
I know.
Yeah, that's
It is.
I remember when that came out. Lindsay Lohan is like top of her game,
Mhm.
like popularity wise.
yeah.
Rachel McAdams had not taken off yet, or this is what
correct.
I think
sets
this is
her
what
off.
kind of makes her.
Yeah,
yeah.
she was nobody at that point.
Okay, 'cause the Notebook hadn't-
came out after.
okay.
Because I knew her, like I watched the Notebook, and I didn't even put together that these were the same people.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't watch movies the way I have to now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, you're welcome.
We were watching a show last
We were
night.
watching Cheers.
Cheers.
We started watching
so
Cheers
great.
with
So
my
good.
son. We always have like a sitcom that we're going through.
Sure.
And so we finished Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Great.
And so I was like, let's do Cheers. And so, but Crystal and I have been watching Soap.
Yeah.
You remember the show?
Oh yeah. I don't
And
think I've ever seen that though.
Oh, it's so, good.
That's Billy Crystal.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Billy Crystal's first breakout role.
Okay.
Yeah. It holds up surprisingly well. There are a few
Sure.
jokes that maybe, but
Not everything is politically correct. Let's just say that.
You gotta accept that.
yeah, it's
You
90
do, but
times.
sometimes you're like, oh.
like woof. Yeah.
My daughter came in the other day and she was like, no.
Well, because he's supposed to be a gay man, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's
okay, okay.
Billy Crystal plays. That's the first like regular character on a show that's gay.
Sure.
And it's funny on the first two he's very flouncy.
Yeah.
And then they really tone him down to where he's basically just Billy Crystal.
Just a dude.
Yeah.
But he's gay.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and so I mean, and like that in and of itself was groundbreaking in
Sure.
1977.
Oh, for sure.
Well, they have the first like female gay person because they kept saying like they said this. I am just quoting they kept saying, well, you can't have a girl homo. They kept
Right.
saying that. Like, that's the kind of thing where you're just like, whoa.
That is.
There was another episode where several characters were wearing blackface.
One of the characters is in a cult, and they're trying to break him out of the cult, and so they're like
Going in
they're
at
like going on
night.
like a busting someone out of
Recon.
prison
Okay.
mission.
Okay.
And so they have
So it's like Grease.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
military
Yes.
style.
right,
Exactly.
but then
Okay,
they
okay.
kept making jokes about how it looks like
So,
blackface.
Sure.
and that's what my daughter walked in on.
Yeah.
But and so there's a character on there named Dutch, and so we were watching Cheers last night, and I was like, it's Dutch.
Dutch
That is always
plays
fun.
plays like a patron on one episode.
Isn't Harry? Oh,
Harry
man.
Anderson.
Harry Anderson does the.
Harry the Hat.
Oh man, that's a great bit.
Yeah.
That's a great bit.
On Cheers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think he's not the judge. He's just a
No, no,
guy,
no.
He's just a patron of the
He's
bar.
a con man.
Yeah.
and he
Cons.
yeah.
Oh, who was it? John Ratzenberger.
Yeah, and
Out
he's
of-
on 4 or 5 episodes.
Oh, is he
over
really?
the life of the show? Yeah, I think that's kind of what got him Night Court.
That is not easy to find, by the way.
What's that?
Night Court.
It's on
Oh.
Vudu.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't want to pay for it.
Well,
watch it.
but I will say, if you keep an eye on the sales,
Okay.
I've seen Night Court on sale because I picked it up. It was like, I think I got the whole run for like $25 or $30.
Oh, that's a deal.
yeah.
I could watch that new garbage one.
I
No,
watched
thank
it.
you
No,
very
why would
much.
So
Why
are
would
they
you
not
do that?
showing the old? They don't.
No.
They don't stream the old one on Peacock.
No, they just have the new one, which I thought was
Ugh.
weird.
Yeah, I would have thought they would have had the old one so you could catch up.
That's what I
or-
thought too.
Yeah,
'Cause
like
I mean, I love that old one.
Yeah.
That old one's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
just
good.
it's just Barney Miller.
I know, and
Yeah.
that's great too.
And I think one of the creators was one of the writers on
Oh,
Barney
really?
Miller. Yeah,
That's
but
fun.
it's Barney Miller.
That's good.
They will do Barney Miller when soap is done.
That's
Okay.
you should.
Okay.
You should. It's very.
But then
very-
we got to go into Night Court because I miss Night Court.
yeah.
Oh, actually, I kind of still want to watch that. Not kind of. I want to watch Moonlighting. I really want to watch
Oh,
Moonlighting.
well done.
Moonlight is really good.
Yeah, that's peak. That's not well. I think that's peak like comedy. Bruce Willis.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's the show that made him a star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so Mean Girls was like this culture explosion. Like that's the you would see like Regina George costumes and the,
Which really surprised me because like I like Mean Girls. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
But even liking it, I was just like, okay, but it's Heather's.
it is Heather's.
Yeah.
Sure.
To another like to a lesser degree. I feel like Heather's is a little darker.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot more
But-
killing.
Yes.
Um,
There's multiple homicides.
Yeah, right.
so
But-
yeah, a little
but
darker edge.
Christian Slater,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, that's a win.
But I think Mean Girls was I mean, I feel like I grew up in that time frame. So like by the time it came out, I was, finished with high school, but still very so it felt very real to me.
Sure.
Like it felt very like, oh yeah, that's how those bitches were.
Wait a minute. What year did you graduate high school?
96.
Okay.
What?
Well,
I think he just said I'm old.
no. Like
I
I thought when you said I just finished high school, I was like, how old are you? Like young wise.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, 2004 was probably around the time that I was able to watch movies again.
Sure,
you know, 'cause I
sure.
college life,
Right.
But
Yeah, that didn't work for me.
well, that's a whole nother.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was still recent enough in my past that it
I'm
really
with you.
resonated
I'm
with
with
me.
you.
And I thought it was very realistic of like how girls would be nice but not nice. It's that whole frenemy thing that I think is different even than in Heather's. Like, I mean, in Heather's, it wasn't quite as light, and I think
Right.
that is how girls are. Like, women do that to each other all the time. Like, I hate it. I hate it about women. I hate that.
And in Heather's, Veronica didn't like go native, right? Like she was always like, these girls are awful.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that's true.
exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
Man, I
So-
need to go watch Heather's again.
I know. I was just thinking
so
that too.
great.
Which was also turned into a musical.
What?
Was it really?
Yeah.
Now, see, that's
Oh,
not.
see, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, people love it, but
Oh.
I've never seen it. But it
Hmm.
was also turned into a musical. For the stage, it never got adapted back. But
Oh, it did not.
no.
Okay. So I graduated high school in 2000.
So you did graduate.
I did.
Well done.
Thank you.
We've wondered.
Thank you.
We didn't want to ask.
Nope, I did. I did. I stayed at a steady 2.0 that never changed.
It counts.
Yeah.
My note,
Counts.
like I was like number 1 48 of
Yeah.
my graduating class, and that was consistent.
See, when I graduated, I had over 1,000 people, so that would have been amazing.
Hey, we had 200,
There you
and
go.
I was like,
Dead center.
I wish I was dead center.
Okay, a little less
little
than dead
lower.
center.
But yeah, well, the joke was I didn't go to school to learn. Like I was like, that's where my buddies are. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go there and hang out with my friends and maybe get a passing grade if I'm paying attention enough. Yeah, Tina Fey is top of her game, and she was the head writer for SNL. She wrote this, and I think this one, to me, this one became like kind of like a modern classic.
Oh, absolutely.
Like to this day, I think there are very few movies that can kind of break out of that mold. Like I think Elf did it. I think Mean Girls did it, or just the two that kind of come to mind.
yeah.
Interesting that they're both SNL alums. That I
Yeah.
think that's probably one of the stronger casts in the last
Yeah, that was a very
30 years.
good time for them.
Yeah. Because who was that? It was Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Jimmy Fallon, Amy Poehler,
Sherry O'Terry.
Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan,
Yeah.
Tim Meadows.
Yeah. I think Kevin Nealon was still around.
I think he was there at the
for
very
some of it.
beginning.
Yeah.
Probably. So
Yeah.
that was an all-star cast. Like that, they were firing on all cylinders with
Yeah.
that one. And it was interesting because I was working at Blockbuster at this point. That thing rented. I mean, Blockbuster probably could have stayed in business on what they made off of Mean Girls alone.
Well, clearly not.
That clearly, that's because they had bad management. Right. That's what that is. When somebody says you can buy Netflix,
They could have
for
just held on for Mean Girls the musical.
There's one left. They held on. There's one in
Alaska
Alaska
or
or
something,
something. Yeah. But yeah, so this one it
Somewhere
does.
where they can't get Wi-Fi.
That's right. They're like, hey man, Netflix doesn't deliver out here. Sorry,
Doesn't
Like,
deliver anywhere. Doesn't deliver anywhere anymore.
right. Did they get rid of their
Yeah,
disc
that's
base?
dead.
They shut it down.
Oh dang,
Yeah.
that is weird. That's another. It's like just another end of an era. Like that's interesting. That
Everything's different now.
yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because Blockbuster had a mailing service.
Tried.
It was successful in store. People had every customer I had that thing. And
I
then
mean,
they
it made
mucked
sense
it up.
because you didn't have to mail it back. You could just drop it off and pick up another one on the spot.
That's right.
But it didn't work.
Because they're dumb.
Yeah.
They were dumb. So this one it's the exact same thing. They do like when we get to it's not really a spoiler because everybody's seen Mean Girls, but at the end when Regina and Katie are having that conversation and Regina gets hit by the bus. I like the way they did that because it was a jump scare and I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
As a person who's been hit by a car,
Less than a year ago.
yeah, let me tell you, every time I see a movie where somebody gets hit by a car,
Sure.
like it is so upsetting to me. Like, and I knew it was coming, and like my adrenaline was just pumping. And
But
I
on
was,
the upside, I'll never have to watch Meet Joe Black again.
That's true. That is one of the best. Sorry, that's one of the best scenes ever.
I mean,
When he gets hit by that car,
that scene is crazy, but the movie
Oh, it's
is
terrible.
so boring.
it's so boring. But when you're just like, what the hell? What just happened?
Yeah.
The way that's filmed in the 2004 version is like you are focused on those two. They're
Yeah.
having the conversation, then she gets hit by the bus.
Right.
In this one, it's like you're too. It's pulled. You're not listening to them at all. Like,
right,
it has-
because the main people are singing, and
Correct.
so you're not paying attention to them.
And
yeah, when
then-
they came back out, I was like, here we go.
I knew it happened, but I could like.
Well, they tell you in the very beginning.
that someone's going to get hit
Someone
by
hit
a
by a
bus.
Because
Yeah.
Tom had forgotten, and he's like, are you okay?
Look at you. I'm just making sure.
I'm very
Yes,
double
supportive.
checking.
he is
Yeah,
very
it's a good job.
supportive.
Well, I knew I could tell it was coming. And I remembered that they said someone would get hit by a bus and they do the head fake at the very beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I was like trying to brace her. I'm like, somebody's going to get hit by a bus. Right? I forgot. It's been a while since I've seen Mean Girl. I forgot about the bus part. But I was like, somebody's getting hit
Somebody's
by a bus.
getting hit
right
by a
here.
bus.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
you worry.
The movie's almost over. They're in the streets. No one's been hit by a bus yet.
It's happening.
They promised us a bus hit.
It's coming.
yes.
So yeah, like they do things like that where they move the camera from the spot where it was in the original one and then just film it differently.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah, I did like that. And that's what I appreciate. I think one of the things that I appreciated about this is it's not like here's Mean Girls and we're just going to pepper in some songs. Like they film it in a way, again, they update the jokes so it's not 2004, but
Right.
it's 2023, 24 when this was probably made. And the jokes feel fresher. And Tina Fey, I still think, has a very good voice. Like you said, it felt the original one felt real. This one still feels current and real.
Yeah. I think it's to some degree like that sort of behavior has always been with us.
Totally.
Yes, but I will say just having like Sydney be that age, like the way that the Janice character was, like it is so my daughter, like the way she dresses and being artsy and having the hair and
Right.
like and then we had a babysitter like whenever the kids were little named Miranda, and so like Janice was like an exact like if Miranda looked but Sydney acted like
Put together.
and it was very real how the kids act today, because like they're so protective about saying things, and like they're like, no, this upsets my feelings, and you know, like they're so much more aware of things like that.
Yeah.
And so like I thought the Janice character was just like dead on how kids act today. I was like, yes,
Because that was Lizzie Kaplan, right?
I don't know,
In the 2004 version?
I don't remember. It's been
I think it is.
because I never saw her in anything again. Janice.
Lizzie Kaplan?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
no,
don't
Lizzie
know who that
Kaplan's
is.
been in tons.
Yeah,
I just
she
saying
was
I
in
never saw Janice.
Cloverfield.
She was I
I
barely.
think she might have been in movies I didn't watch, y'all.
No, she was in, what was the show she was in that was kind of like the
She was
Sex Education with Michael Shannon?
Didn't watch that.
the
Michael
the show
Shannon.
about Masters and Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah,
Masters of Sex.
Masters of Sex.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched
She
that
was in the
either.
show that was supposed to be CBS's version of Friends called The Class.
Didn't watch that either.
Nobody else did.
It is a Rosetta Stone for successful actors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the way that sometimes happens, though.
Yeah, it's hang on, let me see if I can find it.
Did you ever see
The cast of The Class included Lizzie Kaplan and then Jason Ritter
Okay.
and then Jesse Tyler Ferguson,
Who's that?
who was
Mitchell
on Modern Family.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
And then let's see, who? Hang, I'm trying to find the whole cast. Let's see, John Barenthal.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, it was like there were a lot of people that went on to be.
Interesting.
Big deals.
Those are fun to like when you look at two guys, a girl, in a pizza place. It's like, well, there's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Front and center
Yeah.
with that one. And Nathan Fillion also was on that show.
Yeah,
They were, yeah. But yeah, so like this takes all of that and they and I assume that musical was fairly successful.
Very.
oh, very.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't typically adapt failed.
That's true.
projects.
Did she write the musical as well?
Everything.
I think she wrote the book, not the songs.
Okay. Okay. Dad, that's impressive.
The book is what they call in theater world the written, the
I know
spoken
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hung out with theater kids.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Just did long enough to beat them up.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, theater girls are hot.
Yeah. She's like, they're not going to date any of those guys
No.
because they're either
Like-
gay or they don't got the juice to score a theater.
Let's
girl.
be honest.
Yeah. Even their dads think they're gay.
Apparently. So yeah, it's the same thing that opens up. Jenna Fisher plays the mom in this one rather than who was the mom in the first one in the movie?
No idea.
No clue.
The mom is so not memorable in either movie.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I just thought Jenna Fisher, I love Jenna Fisher, but
Sure.
I didn't feel like this was a great role for her because she seemed really not interested.
Oh no, I'm right.
What are you right about?
Amy Poehler does play
She plays
Regina's mom
Oh.
in Mean Girls. Anna Gasteyer is Katie's mom in the 2004 version.
See, I don't remember any of those people.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like the only mom that's at all memorable.
Yeah, Amy Poehler plays Mrs. George.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't remember
Well, I
that.
think in this one it's about the same
Yeah.
level of, with Busy Phillips, right? That's who this is?
Yes, that
Yeah.
is Busy
Yeah.
Phillips, yeah.
Which I don't remember in the 2004 version. They really delve into like her being in Kenya. Like I
Not
feel
really.
they feel like they would just kind of flash forward to her coming back and going to school and being kind of like the fish out of water.
Yep.
And now obviously that's Lindsay Lohan. Spoilers. There's a great cameo. They got a pretty impressive like round of applause in my
our theater too. In our theater too.
Which
It
is, like,
really
good
seemed
for
to
her.
surprise people. Yeah.
Well, I didn't think she would be in it. Like obviously this is to me this is the one that made her a star. Right?
Yeah.
Oh no, she was a big deal before
Really?
this.
You
Oh
think
yeah.
so?
because she did the Parent Trap one.
and Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like-
I forgot about Freaky Friday.
Yeah, like she was on a tear.
Yeah.
And this was kind of, I think, like her first kind of like grown-up role, even though she's playing a high school kid. Like the material's more grown
I
up.
think it was her first and last.
I think it was
I
the
think this
beginning
is-
of the end.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is. She does like the Herbie movie.
Yeah.
I think
Tanks.
is the Herbie before or after?
It is after.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's it. And she unfortunately
Yeah, like it was a lot of.
a lot of stuff.
She was in that movie I Know Who Killed Me,
Yeah.
which made like $4. Yeah.
I think it was
Well,
like
I mean,
$3.50.
you know, she. I
The
think
wheels came off.
They
Like,
did.
she-
I think she got chewed up by the the
Yeah.
teenage Hollywood Disney machine, and I don't mean that as a
drugs.
yeah, and I don't mean
Yeah.
that as a dig at Disney, but I think a lot of those kids, you could probably count on one hand how many came out of that okay.
Yeah.
You know, out of
Sadly.
that, and they're still around. You
Yeah.
know, it's like Ryan Gosling and Justin Timberlake. I'm not going to include Britney Spears on that because
You know,
Still
I
a
will
rough
say I
time.
think there are more successful child actors than people realize, because I will say, like, when we watch shows, I'll go down the rabbit hole, like, what else has this person been?
Yeah.
Right. And
Every show.
I occasionally do that. And I will say I am stunned by how many times I find an actor who started as a child actor. And I think what it comes down to is that if you're a child actor who works but doesn't become famous,
sure.
you'll do okay. But if you become famous
Too,
as a child
especially
actor,
too early.
yeah, like that's
Then
where
you're just surrounded by yes men, and you get into a bubble where nothing is real, and you are disconnected from reality.
There's a really good doc by oh dang it, Soleil Moonfry, who
Punky Brewster.
Punky Brewster, yeah, who
saw
does
that.
does an
She-
incredible
she's got all
documentary.
the camcorder footage of when she was hanging out with all these people.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we watched that.
did,
Yeah,
and-
that was really good.
It was really
And
good.
it's also fascinating. The thing I found the most fascinating about that is because it's like, what, early 90s?
It's probably
Early to mid 90s.
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
hanging- But how many of those actors who front facing were in radically different projects?
and
Sure.
hanging out together.
But when you forget that at the end of the day, it's a job.
When
and
you
that-
see like Katherine Heigl, or no, it was who was it? It was there's a picture of Charlize Theron and like some 90s like who was a 90s heartthrob, and you're
Yeah.
like, were they in the same place at the same time? Like
Yeah.
this is just seeing those worlds collide
Yeah.
was very strange.
Yeah, I saw a picture. This is different era, but I saw a picture of like Lizzo when she's in college still.
Okay.
And she's like getting her picture taken with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, weird.
Weird.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, how did
There's-
that occur?
There's a hilarious Kevin can add the ding ding. You see this happen all the time in wrestling is people who are currently wrestling are like walking up to former or people who were popular then getting like an autograph.
Right.
There's a very funny picture. So Lita, who was a very popular women's wrestler in the late 90s, early 2000s, was doing an autograph signing, and she's getting an autograph. She's giving an autograph to this girl, and this girl's like freaking out because Lita's her favorite wrestler. Well, flash forward about 20 years, that girl takes Lita's boyfriend in real life and marries him.
What?
Yes. Lita was dating a wrestler named CM Punk. AJ Lee is the wrestler, the girl in question. AJ Lee grows up, becomes a professional wrestler. She starts with the company. CM Punk leaves Lita and marries this other woman. And
Went
they're
for the
still
younger
married today.
model.
I mean,
Some
you know.
things never change.
But it's I always find that fascinating, especially with I think of celebrities back then where it's like Justin Taylor Thomas.
The
Who
guy
was-
with three names. I know you're talking
Who was the
about.
guy on Home Improvement?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it Jason?
Justin?
John.
Jonathan Taylor
Thomas. Well
Yes.
done. Good job. But like, and then Soleil
I had a
Moonfry.
subscription to Tiger Beat.
I bet you did. Yeah, the Disney magazine.
Yeah.
I picture you laying in bed with all the posters above your bed.
Now I have an online subscription to Tiger Beat Plus.
Plus, yeah, right. There's no streaming service. You just get access to all of the comics, all of the magazines.
Right.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun to look at, though. Like the Tiger Beat from like 1974.
Go back. Yeah, it's Leaf
You know?
Garrett,
Right,
Sean
right.
Cassidy.
I just watched a movie with Leif Garrett called Party Line.
Why would you do that?
It wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
It's somebody like Tarantino may have talked about it, and I was like, I've never seen that. It's wild. It is a wild movie. But like Soleil Moonfry who was Punky Brewster, but then kind of went away. Like she did Punky Brewster for a bunch of seasons, but she was still in that world. So she's got this like handheld camera, and you're looking around. You're like, "There's Robert Downey Jr." Like, there's it's crazy.
And you
to
wouldn't
look.
expect Robert Downey Jr. to be hanging out with Punky Brewster.
right,
No.
right.
Yeah.
But they're probably
Those are
the
two
same
different
age.
worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the disconnect, right? They make these kids because they're not kids.
Right.
And they're in their 20s and they look like they're 12.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a little confusing.
It's a little confusing, but it's also just like you think of career paths, but they all are Hollywood kids, so they all probably just ran together.
Yeah.
because they didn't have anybody else to hang out with.
Who else would understand?
That's exactly it.
Exactly. That's
Bingo.
exactly what I was going to say.
So I do think that like the Disney machine, and I to your point, I think you're right about child actors, but I think those Disney kids are the ones that like got
because they're the most popular.
And got-
Like
yeah.
I for the most part, I think they get hit the hardest because
yeah.
they're so in front of people all the time. Like
all the time.
Disney can push them in front of people in a way that even if it's a good movie or popular show, it's just not as you're just not as exposed as you are at Disney.
It's interesting. I agree with you. I do think that has kind of gone away. Right?
Probably.
I think the only one that even comes to mind is because I've seen her in other stuff is Dove Cameron, because my kid watched, there was some show where she played twins, and then that show ended and she would just pop up, and I'm sitting there with her watching it.
Yeah.
And then I see her pop up in other things. What was the one, The Descendants? Is that the one where all of the kids play?
It's like the offspring
She's
of
in
villains.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've seen her in like a movie. I was like, oh, Dove Cameron.
I think because nowadays kids gravitate more towards like YouTube
Yeah.
and TikTok.
Those Disney shows just don't have the.
Yeah.
Nope.
Ariana
That-
Grande, I think, was on one of those.
Yeah. Was she on Sam and Cat?
Oh.
No idea.
But she was on one of them.
Yeah.
For sure.
I know that because I read
Teen Beat.
Jeanette McCurdy's book. I'm
Oh,
glad my
yeah.
mother
Oh.
died, which was really fascinating.
Not the one she like basically calls out her mom.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about because she was on iCarly, and then she talks about how they liked her so much on iCarly, they wanted to give her a spinoff, and kept telling her she was going to get her own show, just hang out, and then so then they give her own show, but then it becomes, it's going to be you and Ariana Grande, and now it's not your show, it's your show and her show.
and so it's really just Ariana Grande.
Yeah, and
Poor lady.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's tough. That's tough when she became a megastar.
yeah,
And that other gal didn't.
Timing has a lot to do with things.
yeah.
That's true. That's true. And who's popular at the right time, But yeah, so like this, it's hard to synopsisize this movie because it's just Mean Girls with musical
Right.
numbers. I do think that the gal that played Regina George had also had moments where she looked like Rachel McAdams. Like there's a couple.
Oh, interesting. I totally disagree
There was
with
a-
that.
Oh, really?
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead though.
Well, there's just a couple scenes where she, like just the facial
Yeah.
expressions she would make. I was like, oh, I remember that face. Like,
Really?
Yeah, just like a snarl when she found out that they had been like basically giving her like fat bars. It's kind of like I don't know.
No, that's true. That's true. We watched the show called Sex Lives with College Girls,
Okay.
and it's not what it sounds like.
It's it sounds like it would be like a Cinemax, a Skinemax show.
Yeah,
It does,
right,
it does,
right.
and it's not at all. And it's a really good show. But one of the main characters is the girl who plays Regina George.
Okay.
So the whole time we're watching this, all I can see is her playing
Okay.
that role, like the
Interesting.
whole time. Like
Yeah.
I never went out of that place. For me.
Okay.
And she's also, I just thought as a girl, it was interesting in a good way that everybody was a little less perfect with their body types because in the first one, like Regina George is like super skinny and like that kind of like Hollywood type.
Oh, sure.
And in this one, she was more like, I would say, real. And then everyone was a little more real. Like all even the plastics were more real. Even the one that's real ditzy was.
I know they didn't want to change the name for obvious reasons, but I'm like, I don't know that the term plastics still applies to these
Right.
girls.
I don't know that the dumb one had her boobs out all the time.
She did, but
I didn't notice.
You're
right.
so full of shit.
I don't see things like that. So
I don't see boobs.
I'm
What are
a
you-
happily
what are you,
married.
boob blind?
I'm a happy. I see one set of boobs.
I thought it was interesting though because they made it more diverse from a racial standpoint as well.
Oh, sure.
And so like you had more realistic body types, you had more diversity happening, and obviously that's just more in vogue these days. But I'm glad that people are doing that so that
I was frustrated in some of the articles where they talk about Renee Rapp, who plays Regina, and that like. And they refer to her as plus size, and I'm like, she's just a normal human being.
Yeah, I
Like,
would
that's
not call her plus size.
she's not size 2,
Right.
and that's
Yeah,
the way Hollywood.
right.
That's
Yeah.
how Hollywood
It's
defines
like
it.
only in Hollywood or Auschwitz would that be considered plus size.
Yeah, it is tough. Obviously, with 2 daughters, and one who does not struggle with. Well, I don't know. She doesn't talk about it, so it's very possible. But the kid wears my sweatshirts and sweatpants all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is it's funny. We talked about this at one point on the show about just the change in clothing.
Yeah.
Where
See, my guess is she probably does struggle, and she's wearing that stuff
To hide.
maybe.
That's why my daughter did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you look at her and you're just like, what? You're fine. Like,
Right.
You're good. You are good to
Right.
go. Don't worry about
Yeah, it's different when you're that age.
That's true. That's
know?
true. When we talked about how, like, for my generation, jeans kind of became like we just wore those were what we wore all the time.
Yep.
Right.
And now I gotta tell you, this generation, it's sweatpants.
It is.
It's sweatpants. It's swishy pants.
We call them swishy pants.
Swishy pants.
Like
yeah,
the
the track pants.
yeah. Because whenever my son would wear it, whenever
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
don't ever pursue a career as a ninja because you're not going to sneak up on anybody.
We're all gonna hear you coming,
Yeah.
you
Brian.
couldn't sneak up on a glass of water in Forest Park.
I mean, it wasn't until he was a junior in high school he owned a pair of jeans.
For real.
That's crazy to me.
And
I know.
You know
I agree.
how we look at like our grandparents and they'd come home and sit around the house in like khakis.
right.
You're
It's
just like,
God, that looks so uncomfortable.
What are you doing?
That's how they feel about jeans.
That's how they feel about us in jeans.
Which is, but it is funny. I remember she was getting ready for school one morning, and I was just like, "Do you own a pair of jeans?" And she was like, "Yeah." I go, "Do you wear them?" She was like, "No."
she's like for fancy
Like,
stuff,
For
like
why?
fancy stuff,
funerals,
Right.
Yeah,
weddings.
right. I was like,
It's
okay,
so different.
yeah,
It's so different.
definitely rocking sweatpants all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the
Where
musical.
you're like, sweatpants are only for when I go to titty bars.
That's the only reason. Well, then I mean that's awkward, because then you're just pitching a tent. Oh
my God.
That's the whole point.
I think that scene in Superbad where he's like, I just went. Never mind. Go.
I think my favorite line in Superbad is when
All
he's
of
like-
them?
It's so good.
Yeah.
But when he's like, "I'm sorry, my porn isn't made by the Coen brothers, Ethan."
That's so good. What do you think it'd be like? Perfect 10? Like it could be like a bowling website. Like that's. But I think that this is a really smart way. It is. I think the turnaround on a remake of Mean Girls is really fast because to me remakes. It's a touchy subject. I know people feel a certain way about it. I feel a certain way about it. But when you're remaking something that's only, it is 20 years old, I
Right.
guess, at this point.
I
But
was like, I think the problem is we're all getting old.
I think
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're remaking things we remember.
Yeah.
Seeing in theaters.
Yeah. And so it feels real personal to us, and it feels like yesterday. So what the
Yes.
fuck are you doing making
Thank
a
you.
remake?
But I think it's because of the songs. I think if,
Yeah, I agree.
If it wasn't for the songs, if it wasn't for the fact that this had been adapted into a Broadway musical, I don't think we'd be getting a remake right now.
Probably not. I think, I don't know because
they remake everything.
that's exactly it. Hollywood is so bereft for taking chances on original properties.
I think you'd be more apt to see a Mean Girls sequel with the original cast
Oh, sure.
than an actual straight up remake.
Where are they
That
now?
would
Now, I
be
would watch that.
I would watch that.
Or like,
Yeah.
or like their daughters are in school and they're whatever.
They're
Okay.
all drinking.
Yeah. But that is that's an interesting idea, is doing like a requel with the original cast.
Yeah.
Like that would be an interesting. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
Tina Fagan on that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what are you doing? You got nothing else going
See
on.
how
Yeah, it's-
opening weekend goes.
Well, how did it go?
I think it went well. I think they were saying it was tracking to make like $35 million.
It had to have done well based on how many people were there to watch it.
I was in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
every
that theater was packed.
yeah every screening that I was looking at, it was.
I was so worried they were going to sing the whole time.
I was too.
I was scared.
Like the
I was
crowd.
so scared.
Yeah.
I
Like
didn't
they
even
didn't
think
shut
about
up the
that.
entire time. Like all of the, like whenever you're in a movie theater and everybody's just kind of settling in, there's a few murmurs here and there
Sure,
as you
sure.
watch the previews. It was a loud roar the whole time. I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
oh man,
That
this is gonna
stinks.
suck. And then
This
the
is
movie
gonna
started
suck.
and they actually shut up. The only time I heard them was whenever Lindsay Lohan came out and they all went,
Yes, which was a fun I was like, okay, like that was fun that, I don't think that she is never going to be forgotten.
no.
I think she's always gonna,
Yeah.
I think she like
We're all hopeful for her.
we are, and I think she's turned it around. I think she's gotten herself together. It sounds like that's the case. Does she think she's got a kid?
I don't know.
I think.
She has that reality show or whatever though, and I think
Well, she also left. Like she got out of Hollywood and like went to England or something, and like got out of that limelight. And and more power to her. Like you got to take care of yourself. I appreciate. I think that's fantastic that that's the case for her. And
on a separate note, I just wish all these Hollywood stars would stop with the doing the surgeries. Like they don't look like themselves, and it's weird. Stop with the implants in your cheeks.
Yeah. About Zac Efron.
Yeah, they're all weird.
Yeah,
they look weird.
it's I remember when she first got some work done, it was just like, man, here we go. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna the other one that I was surprised at, and this is such a weird thing to talk about, but Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
I didn't know she did that.
look at her like into. I didn't recognize her. And it was
Really?
Renee Zellweger, I think, had
Oh
the
yeah,
same
she's
issue.
had a lot. Yeah.
Um,
And it's not that I mind or that I'm judging them for getting the work done. I just feel like they don't look like themselves anymore. And
Yeah.
it
And
makes
that's
me
their
sad.
brand, right?
Yeah,
What-
it makes me sad for them.
and to Jennifer Grey's career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
She shouldn't have gotten the nose job.
I remember when she showed up on a sitcom, and my dad was like, "Do you know who that is?" And I was like, "I have no idea." She's like, "That's Ferris Bueller's sister." And I was like, "No, it's
No.
not.
No.
It didn't. I mean, it didn't look like her at all.
No.
It didn't look like her
Yeah.
at all."
So Mean Girls, they say, is estimated to make $31 million this weekend.
Okay.
And my guess is, I wouldn't surprise me if that's an underestimation.
I think that's fair. I mean, again, I see things at the Draft House, and like I said before, usually first run movies don't do great. Like at least recently, right? But it's been a rough few,
Yeah.
movie going experiences. But this one was it was packed almost the entire theater, and this was in the big show, so it's like their big auditorium, and every seat all the way down, probably up until like the front 2 rows were full.
Same
they
for us.
And they
Yeah.
sold. I bought tickets like 2 days in advance, and they were already sold out for the most part, which I think is good. Like I think that's the kind of we've talked about how.
We need mid-budget movies
Yes.
Yeah.
to make money.
That's exactly
Like,
it.
And I think you might be seeing a turn back to that, because as more and more of these tent poles fail,
Right.
Aquaman 2, the
Yeah.
Marvels, I think they're realizing that, well, let's hedge our bets by making cheaper movies.
Yep.
And
Now just don't make them all remakes, and we're good.
I mean, you can even throw a remake in there if you want, but
Said,
don't.
don't make them all.
Oh yeah, but don't give it a $200 million budget.
Right.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
give it a $50 million budget or whatever.
yeah, and this had a $35 million budget.
So perfect. It's
Yeah.
gonna make its money back. Well,
In the
2
first
weeks.
weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it covered its budget basically in the first weekend,
Right.
And I think that this was originally designed to go on Paramount Plus.
oh okay.
Like, I don't think this was intended originally to be a theatrically released film. And so the fact that they spent $35 million on a streaming project, it's the same thing we've been saying for a while, like with Netflix. I'm like, throw it in theaters.
you own a theater.
Throw it in theaters and make your money. Like,
Yeah.
it's just found money. Like, I don't understand the business model here, where it's like, you throw this movie's probably going to make $100 million domestic now,
Yeah.
or real close, and it'll still be a viable property on streaming. And this is
Absolutely.
the sort of movie that people will watch over and over again.
Yes.
because they like the story,
And the songs are good.
They like the
I
songs.
thought the songs were not
Mr.
terrible.
Non-musical.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I can appreciate a good song.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like and it wasn't. It did not feel like West Side Story.
Yeah,
Where it's just like
musicals
God.
aren't like that anymore.
I know. I
Okay.
know. I know.
Although I do think that what is her name? Regina George.
Renee Rapp, I think.
Yeah,
is-
I didn't really care for her singing style, which I told you when we came.
Oh,
home.
interesting.
I couldn't understand all the words
Sure.
that she was saying. Where I
Yeah.
thought everybody else did a great job, and she wasn't like awful. It just there were times when she was singing, it felt like she was trying so hard to be sexy that I couldn't hear what she was actually saying.
Her enunciation.
If I didn't know her name was Regina George, I'm not sure I would have gotten that
That's
from the
fair.
first song.
That's fair. Are any of these folks from the musical?
Oh,
They-
she was.
I think she was.
Okay,
I think she played
okay.
Regina George on Broadway. That's what got her Sex Life of College Girls.
Got it. Because they usually do like kind of bring over
Yeah.
people from the musical to come into the.
But you got to be careful because
then
know,
you're just
well,
making them movie stars.
well, but also like sometimes in something like this, they're supposed to be in high school. If you wait too long, they're like Evan Hansen,
Oh, that's true.
where he looked like he was 32.
That's a
you
good
know.
point. Yeah. Right.
And he's great, and it's easier to suspend your disbelief for something like that, I think, on stage than on a movie, because you're not like right up in their
That's
face.
true.
in the
Yeah,
same
you're
way.
sitting far enough back where you're like,
Yeah.
it could be a high schooler, maybe. But
Yeah.
when you've got, a $3 million camera on your face, you're like, you look like
Yeah.
you're 40. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I think the songs are solid. I think everybody involved is really. It's funny. I do think also the boy does kind of look like a 2024 version of the guy from the 2004 movie.
God, I don't even remember who it was.
That's my point, because he went on to do nothing. Like,
Oh.
I shouldn't say that. I don't want to call the guy, but like when I was trying to think of what he looked like, and then I looked him up, I was like, oh yeah, he does kind of look like the same
Does
guy.
he?
Yeah, it's very funny.
He's kind of besides the point.
He's not really a focal point. I
Right.
guess he's like a catalyst, right? Like
He
he's
is.
the one that starts the revenge.
It absolutely, but I think I don't know. From a storytelling standpoint, it could have been any guy, right?
That's true.
and that's kind of the whole point.
Yes.
I mean,
But yeah, I think everybody involved.
And apparently, I was wrong. She was not in the Broadway cast.
Oh, okay.
It was Taylor Louderman.
I
have
feel
no idea
lied
who that
to.
is.
Yeah, that got me.
Nope.
Lied.
Couldn't tell
Lied.
you. Couldn't tell you.
When you click on her name, it says, she played Regina George in Broadway's
Perfect.
music.
The Music Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is. I think to your point, I think it's worth going to the theater to see.
Hang on. Correction.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Renee Rapp replaced her
Oh.
when she left. So,
So she was.
yes.
Okay.
As I'm looking at this poster of Amy Adams, it's like, God, it is.
I know it's
Eerie.
eerie. It is eerie.
How much she looks like her.
We should say behind me
Is the Muppets?
Oh, yeah.
I have a poster
know, that's
of the
fair.
Muppets. I don't just happen to
Poster,
have a
picture of Amy Adams.
a poster of Amy Adams.
Yeah, jerk.
Yeah.
It's not just the enchanted poster that's just her. Yeah. Yeah, I think, this is the right time to release this movie. There's nothing in theaters right now. To me, I feel like this is going to get, because there's really nothing coming either. There's nothing until February. Like February's Madam Web, I think.
God, that looked bad.
It looks so bad.
Oh boy,
So
it
bad.
looks so bad.
So
in
bad.
the best way. Like that could be a real spoilers extravaganza. 'cause
It could
it
be,
looks so
yeah.
bad.
Good luck to you, Tom. I'm not watching it.
apparently it's how they're gonna get their Spider-Man. Like it's how Sony's gonna work in their Spider-Man. Because this is what I'm all rumor and conjecture, rumor and innuendo, is that Adam Scott is Ben Parker.
Weird.
And that Ezekiel, the main bad guy, is going to kill Peter. Like that's what they're trying to stop. Is like he's trying to kill a young Peter Parker before he becomes Spider-Man.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but
Okay.
yikes.
All right.
No, I think this is a really good adaptation of a really good movie. Like I think everybody it's enjoyable to watch. It's not long. I think it's only like an hour and a half.
No, see, that tells you right there
Oh.
that you enjoyed it more than you thought.
I definitely had a good
It
time
was
at
an
it.
hour and 58 minutes.
Is it really?
And you thought it was 90.
I did
So-
think it was 90.
More movies should be like that.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
and by for sure, Joe means they should be musicals.
I do not mean that. No.
You had such a good time.
Here's what I'm hoping for.
Oh dear.
Iron Claw the musical.
Oh man,
Oh my god, that would be so wrong.
that would be something. That would be something. I'll watch it. That's a given. I felt bad because my daughter is at her grandma's right now, and I was
Didn't
like,
make
"Hey,
her watch Iron Claw, did you?
no, no." But she was pissed at me that I saw the Hunger Games and I didn't take her. She was like, I said I wanted to see it. I was like, I know, but I didn't. Just the timing didn't work out. But this one's the same way, where she was like, I want to see Mean Girls, and I was like, what?
Sydney even looked a little upset we were going without her.
Oh,
she
dang.
was like, I'll see it later.
Yeah.
I'm not in a rush.
It's fine. It's fine. No, I think this is really well done. I thought it was a lot of fun. And it made me want to watch Mean Girls. Like that's kind of the other part. Of
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah, I do want to watch the original
Yeah,
again.
just give it a look.
Yeah.
So
What about Mean Girls 2?
no, I don't
No,
want to see Mean
no.
Girls too. I have no. It's like that's when they started doing all those
American Pie.
yes,
Straight to videos.
or Van Wilder.
Yeah.
like would get sequels, and you're like, what are we doing? I don't need to see Van Wilder's freshman year.
I think the American Pie sequels are sad because it's like a pre-Schitt's Creek Eugene Levy.
Oh, yeah.
He's in all of them.
He is. He
And
plays
he's
Jim's
just like,
dad.
Sure, I'll show up for 3 scenes for $400,000.
I just
Done.
love him. I
He's
didn't
great.
really care about him until Schitt's Creek, but
Yeah.
God, I love him.
I remember-
love him
I mean,
so
I think
much.
it's great because like I grew up with SCTV.
Sure.
So like that original Second City cast, like I've watched them for, 40 years.
Right.
You know, and so to see him end up a household name that late in life, I was just like, well done.
Yeah.
Like he's a successful working actor who has made I'm sure a solid living. He's in a bunch of those Christopher Guest movies.
I think
like,
he's in all of them, right?
Is he in all of them?
think
I know
so,
he's in
yeah.
a bunch of them,
Yeah,
but but like, so I mean, he's obviously he was in Splash,
Mm-hmm.
right? So but for him to end up on that and that be the thing everyone knows him for,
Right.
it's like that's
That's
Dude,
cool.
he was Jim's dad for me.
yeah.
Like that's what I knew him as.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I ever knew him as
Oh,
until,
really?
until we watched Schitt's Creek, and then I was like, "Oh, that's the guy from."
Goodbye.
And then he became his own entity.
He did.
and
yeah.
I love him and his son. I just think, I think that whole cast is just brilliant.
That's a fantastic show.
It is. It's
That's
one of my
yeah.
faves.
Yeah. So there you go.
So anyway, there's Mean Girls. I wouldn't talk about a whole lot, but I think
there's
you're
really-
right. It's not a lot to talk about, which normally is an insult,
Right.
But it's a light, fun, breezy comedy with good songs,
And it's a
fun time at
comedy
the
that
movies.
everybody has seen,
Yeah,
you know? So it's like, the beats of that movie.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
there's songs in it.
So
Especially the bus scene.
That's very true, yeah.
So anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joey. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, also on Letterboxd at the same.
You can find me on all the socials at Clip Out Crystal.
And this is Tom. You can find. You didn't say on the bike. This is Tom. You
And the
can,
leaderboard
and
of
the-
the bike and
there we go.
tonal at Clip Out Crystal.
and you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. So. That's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Juliet's parents plan to send her to South Africa.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we always